Hello and welcome to the Financial Bunny TV. My name is Nicolette Mashile, but of course you can call me the Financial Bunny. On today's feature of My First Time with Money, we get to sit down with entrepreneur extraordinaire. He's not just an entrepreneur, he's an award-winning entrepreneur. Dare I even say, of the fastest growing sneaker brand in South Africa. Oh, wait, hold on. Did I say South Africa? Probably Africa, and this is really exciting for us because we get to learn from people that really inspire us. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together, bring out all your vuvuzelas and your whistles, and let's welcome THEO Baloyi.
Thank you.
We need better vuvuzelas in here. THEO, thank you so much for honoring the invite.
Thank you for the invite.
It's an absolute pleasure having you today. I think we'll jump straight into it. As I've already mentioned, the feature is called My First Time with Money. And often when we talk about money, people don't really have a clear definition of what money is. In your experiences, you know, taking from when you were still at Shalom Primary School all the way to who you are now, what is your definition of money?
I think money, if I had to simplify it, it's a resource, that you can utilize, to move. I wouldn't really say to acquire, but a resource that we use, on our daily basis. There's different types of resources, and they come with different, benefits. The benefit of having a resource, of having money as resource, is that it always has instant benefits.
Yes.
So for me, I think it's money it's a tool that help us live on a daily basis.
It's quite interesting that you call it a resource, by the way, because of course you working in the retail business, resources are part of it's literally your everyday life, right? Now, when you say it's a resource, often we find that people tend to, and I did it the other day. I was driving, funny enough, so I've recently bought a car, right?
Yeah.
When I drive the SUV, people treat me differently. When I drive the VW, people treat me differently.
Yeah.
So there's quite a lot of power dynamics when it 100%. Comes to money, or what people perceive as money, right? Yeah. What do you think is the actual root of I wouldn't call it a problem because I don't think it's a problem. Yeah, but of that ideal.
I think because like I said, the money is a resource that you can utilize, and like I said, it comes with different benefits, right? In my understanding, I think the size and shapes and forms of benefits that money can get you. And oftentimes we are human beings, and human beings are creatures of emotion, and there's different emotions when we see different things, right? Depending on what's appealing, that's why sometimes either people criticize, people like, people admire, and I think it's just the connotation around mostly what we see. People have different lens on, an SUV in my lens might mean something else opposed to the next person.
Yes, definitely.
Some people don't really care whether it's an SUV or not. For them, it's just a car, and then again, it's a resource. So depending on the lens that I'm wearing, different resources and different, assets and, mean different things to people. And that sparks reaction, because we are human creatures of emotion. So there'll always be an equal reaction to any other thing that moves or any other benefit that a resource can get you. So it boils down to a human being, but oftentimes, especially now in the era of social currency, a lot of material things have levels and shapes and form and different meanings to different people. So that's why the reaction that when I'm driving a VW, there's a different reaction as opposed to when I'm driving the SUV, because the lens and what that means in the social era, the social currency of that resource.
I like that. I like the fact that you speak about putting on different lenses, and often our lenses are shaped by our parents, how we grow up. Let's take you a couple of years back. You are 30 years old. So let's take you 30 years. Okay, maybe 30 years is a bit too far. But we take you maybe 20 years. You are now in Shalom Primary School. Are you getting pocket money?
I am getting pocket money.
Yeah.
And it's kaftin.
Yes, and it's kaftin. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was
100%. So I was, I wouldn't say we were poor or anything, but I come from a very moderate, average middle South African family. You know, my mom was a manager at the furniture store, Louis Furniture Store. My dad was a millionaire, you know, for about 15 years before going into business. You know, I didn't go to the best schools, multi shots. I went to the township schools.
Yes.
Yet I had full uniform. I had a shelter. You know, I had meal to eat every night. You know, every day basically. I had my Christmas clothes and so forth. You know, so I had a skaftin. You know, and normal skaftin, like an average skaftin. You know, and
what is an average skaftin? Average skaftin in the black family, keep white bread, cheese, and bologna.
That's not average.
What's average?
That's fancy.
Cheese and bologna is
Cheese
fancy.
and bologna.
No. So what is what's average? Are we talking
fancy.
jam, peanut butter?
Yeah, or butter, brown bread butter. Even to grated cheese. You know, one slice of cheese you cut into 4 and then you share it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have one big bologna and then a portion of the cheese on top.
Yeah.
So you still have the luxury of
grating it and actually sprinkling. I'm lying, guys. By the way, you guys, most of you know, I grew up in boarding school, so there was none of that luxury.
Yeah. So I remember at our school, Go Shalom, we had feeding schemes.
Yeah.
You know, and then literally, you know, the reason I'm saying it was average.
Yeah.
Butter and jam is because of they were giving it to those who can afford.
Yes.
But for me, in that instance, even though I had skaftin, my skaftin was the same as, you know,
as the feeding scheme.
So it was just that for me, I could get it from home.
Yes.
Others couldn't have.
Yes.
You know, so
but you also had pocket money.
But I also had pocket money, right?
Yes.
True. So the pocket money was for the juice, the guava juice. You know,
in that back in plastic thing.
Plastic, or maybe my mom will say, okay, cool. Since I've Oja, maybe you want to buy something else. I don't know what it's called in English, but lepopotani or ice cube, or I don't know what you call it, but
ice block.
Whatever, ice block, ice block, or some snacks maybe, you know, it was just for that. Since you have skaftin, you know.
You said something. You said your mom worked at Louis, and I'm just sitting here thinking, Jesus, like who even still remembers Louis?
Louis Furniture Store, yeah.
That is crazy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you grow up in this household, you are being given pocket money. Are you having conversations with your parents about money?
Not at that age.
Okay.
Slightly when I was, I think, in varsity or going to varsity. Like I said, my dad was a millionaire for about 15 years, and he quit his job to go into real estate. You know, he used to sell properties. You know, like basically on commission, and then meaning that there's no fixed, you know, income for him.
Yeah.
So he needs to work to get commission so they can support his family.
Yes.
So I didn't understand that until I started going to varsity, because 2008, 2009, I came to Joburg. I did my first year, you know, become accounting sciences. My dad had to sell his car.
Okay.
You know, so that I can go to varsity. And then that's when the conversation started happening, because, you know, 2008 economic crunch, you know, what was happening in the world. He couldn't sell any houses. He didn't have, you know, money for me to pay or to take me to varsity. So it's like, look, dude, I don't have money, but what I can do, you know, I can sell my car so at least that you can have, like, at least set your food at varsity. You know how it works in varsity. You pay deposit, you come up with a payment plan, you know, either 6 months or monthly installments and so forth. If you've got money, you can pay it cash. So for me, it was like, let me sell the car, get deposit money and registration fees and stuff like that, and get you first some test books for the first semester, and we'll take it from there. You know, during the year, maybe something will come up. I'll sell 2 houses, and then I will pay, you know, for your tuition fees. Then that's when we started having the conversation about money, what it means. You know, and then me and my dad specifically. My mom, it was just like basic conversation. I cannot chill it. or next month.
Yes.
Or I will labor, you know. It was just that honest conversation. But my parents did very, very well with us in a sense of making me and my sister understand what is it that they can afford and what is it that they can't. And me and my sister were fine. And I still see that in my sister today when I tell her that, I don't have money for this, or maybe give me 2 weeks or so forth. You know, she still has that understanding in her to say, okay, cool. Because I think that's all you're brought up, to understand what is it that we have and what is it that we don't have. And we didn't have a lot of money. So
So now going into your adult life, okay, you finish varsity, you secure a job in South Africa, you move from South Africa, of course, I think a lot of people know the story. You move to United Emirates, Dubai?
Yes, Dubai.
You move to Dubai, you are working there, fall in love with sneakers, or your love for sneakers gets reignited, you come back to South Africa, you start this business. Let's talk a little bit about the lessons that you took from your dad with how you manage money into your adult life.
My dad is late. He passed on 2014, and I think he left me with the very, very important, crucial lessons that I still embody today, and that I still run my business by.
Yeah.
You know, he used to live by the quote that says, "Fortune favors the bravery."
Okay.
And you know, when I started working, I remember, you know, like I said, it was in a property business.
Yes.
With my first few salaries, there was a business that we wanted to do in terms of housing, and he wanted us to buy this property, renovate it, and sell it at a price.
Okay.
And for me, that was a big step. I was just like 23. I started working. You know?
Yeah.
And you know, he used to tell me about this, about taking risk and being bold and so forth. But one of the most important lessons that my dad told me before going to the Dubai story, he once told me this, that you know, never have an emotional relationship with money.
Okay.
Rather have an intellectual relationship with money. Because when you have an emotional relationship with money, if you lose 10 rand, you're going to lament on the loss. You're going to complain about the loss. But if your relationship with money is intellectual, when you lose the 10 rand, you're going to think about, how do I make the next 20 rand? What business model can I put together to make the 20 rand and the 30 rand? So I've always thought like that, you know, around risk, to say, you know, have an intellectual relationship with money in your analysis and so forth. So when I started working, and I think I don't tell the story a lot, but I used to sell perfumes in Alex, door to door.
Okay.
Myself and my best friend Andrew. And the way we started was very, very, you know, genius, if I put it like that, because we didn't have the seed capital to start the perfume business.
Yes.
You know? So we went to this guy who we knew, who used to sell ties, cufflinks in Poker Square. We wanted to get into perfume business, but it was capital intensive. We don't have capital. We went to this guy, Mapal for Kukasi, Alex. We were like, how about that you give us, you know, your hampers on consignment, your ties, your cufflinks on consignment. We sell it for a profit. We come back, you know, and then we give you back your products or your proceeds from what you sold. And we take our card. And then we did that. And we raised the seed capital. Then from that, we invested in the perfume business. And the perfume business was a success. So that principle of sacrifice and taking risks, saving up, that's where I think the entrepreneurial bug bit me, and I learned of that principle. To a point that when I went to Dubai, tax-free salary, 4 times what I was earning in South Africa, there's subsistence allowance in between travels, in dollars and so forth. I saved the money. I saved the money. I could have easily lived the Instagram live, you know, spend it on expensive clothing and so forth. But I saved the money and I started part. So my point is that I've always known, you know, the principle of risk and loss and saving and reinvesting. And hence, even in my business when I started it, as small as I started, but I understood the importance of reinvesting the proceed to build what we've built today.
But let's talk a little bit about the lesson that you learned from your dad. You speak about having an intellectual relationship with money and not an emotional one. How do you ensure that a young person that's watching today is building that intellectual relationship, taking from the fact that we do come from a very painful past, we have scarcity issues, many people actually live below the poverty line, and I think it's easier for a lot of people to go to the emotional side than build an emotional intelligence so that they can have that intellectual relationship with money.
Look, I think, you know, oftentimes based on our background, you know, I think it's the fear that was instilled in us around money, around how to hold tight to money, around how to it's like our security and confidence came from like that thought of, I've got 20 bucks on the side. That's when we feel like at ease.
When you log into your bank account, you want to see money.
You want to see money.
We're like, okay, I can shop.
So the lesson from my dad was that is a good feeling. It is a very good feeling.
Definitely.
But make sure that feeling of having the turnaround, it's not emotional. It'd rather be intellectual.
Know why you're keeping that money.
Know why you're keeping that money. So it goes deeper than that. You know? So to say, even in your analysis, in the way you use your money, if it's in savings, you know, are you keeping it into an interest-bearing account? Do you have investments that are interest-bearing? You know, where your money is, does it, you know, generating more, or do you rather have the security of knowing I've got it, it's safe? You know, so I think that was the lesson that I learned from him, to say, just look at where your money is, and then does it make sense? You know, and ensure that it makes sense and it's going to provide for you. You know, and wherever there is risk, you know, and then oftentimes people like the idea of greatness, but they hate the idea of risk. A lot of people like what they see and what greatness means or looks like.
I want to be a THEO Baloyi. I want to own a brand that's growing. But the
risk
connotation
that goes to risk. Exactly that. And then that It's an emotional thing.
Yeah.
You're saying ish because I'm gonna lose more. You know, if my money goes.
Yes.
So you rather have the ish, but let it make your ish an intellectual ish.
Yes. And let it give you that courage to go and find out how to actually build that intellect around that decision
100%.
that you're going to make. That's actually very powerful. Yeah. But let's talk a little bit about black tax. I mean, you know, black tax, I generally despise the terming of it, calling it black tax, because I just don't understand how family responsibility can become a tax. However, it does feel like a tax to some people. I mean, you explained that you didn't grow up necessarily in a family that was lacking, but I can assume that without the monetary, there is some elements of black tax that you do pay, time, you know, and all those things. What type of, and I don't want to say advice, because advice is always like, you know, advice is given and not taken, whatever. What type of tips would you give a young person? Black tax?
I think for me, I always tell people this, even in our business, in my personal space, I always tell people that, you know, you need to find a way of being of service.
Okay.
And building significance in your family, in your communities, in the space that you play in. And doing it necessarily not feeling like you're giving, but knowing the purpose of it. Because I myself, I am, you know, a benefit of other people's giving.
Of course.
Not necessarily black people,
yes,
but people that have given me an opportunity and they've served. People that have given me bursaries to study, you know, that, I mean, the Jewish guy, the guy who mentored me is Jewish as well. You know, the person who, you know, employed me at PwC is a white guy. And I think for them, it's being of service to their communities. And I think for us, oftentimes we as people, black people, when we do that, we call it black tax, right? And I think maybe we call it black tax because of the way it's expected. So there's some sort of an expectation.
Well, entitlement.
But at the same time, when entitlement goes out, I don't think, on the other hand, there is a purpose to be of service.
Okay.
That's why there's an issue.
Yeah.
Because generally people don't have that thing of being of service.
Yeah.
And of being of significance.
So you're saying if my intention was never to serve, it will feel like entitlement.
It will feel like entitlement. Okay. If I don't have, you know, that heart to spend time with a THEO Baloyi and advise, you know, and mentor and try to help them out, resource money. To say, Kia 100 rand, it's, I'm not saying you need it, but it's a resource that you can use. If I don't have that mindset, the minute someone asks for it, it will feel like a burden.
It feels like undutimo.
Yeah. So for me, I never had issues with it because I've always been trying to be of service in a lot of things. You know, there's sometimes when I feel like people, maybe they're demanding too much. Yes, that happens. You know, but I think we really need to try to center it to being of service because of even, you know, the other races, they are of service.
Yes.
Two, they are people of color or not, right? They are of service. But just that we as people, whenever there's a call for us to be of service, we always feel like people are requiring too much of us. And maybe because of our upbringing, we're not used to giving. Or what that means.
It's a big challenge though to put it out there to actually say to our people, you need to be giving.
Yeah,
because I think giving for a lot of people has different meanings in terms of who's willing to give. What does it mean, and how much can people actually take from me? Funny enough, as we were driving here, I was having a conversation with Ria, and I was saying because she was like, oh, you've changed. You're not bubbly anymore. Like it's like, and I'm like, I'm tired because I feel like I'm giving and I'm giving. And then when I get home, it's like I've got an adrenaline rush that drops, you know. And the people that are in my house now have to get the Nicolette that is on the ground, you know. So giving is always like a tricky one for me. But anyway, let's park that and let's get into conversation. Let's get into the fun stuff, okay? So let's talk about what is the one thing. So Ramit Sethi speaks about everybody's got a money dial. This is the one thing that you spend on without thinking. I will not find always calculated decision making. What is the one thing that THEO Baloyi spends on, and he afterwards he's like, Mara, but it's okay, I can afford it.
I think it's there's like, it doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
But for me, even Lulu knows my pay. Number one, when I travel, I don't compromise.
Okay.
I don't compromise from how I fly.
Yes.
Where I sleep.
Yes.
What I eat.
Yes.
I don't compromise.
Yes.
But then after the overseas trip, you come and you go.
You come back and you sit there, you're like,
yes,
I really spent this much just
but
on
it was
hotel
nice.
room.
Yes.
I must agree with you. My old boss used to complain about me because I used to say, Tabuko, if I'm going to leave my house, where I'm going to stay needs to match my house or at least be better than my house, guys.
100%.
Because it doesn't make sense. Okay, so that's what you spend on
watches.
Watches.
I'm a collector.
Okay.
So cars I do spend, but I do my analysis.
Okay.
So I love a car and this is a nice car, I love it, I'm gonna buy it, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily go over and above what I can't afford. So if it's a car within my affordability bracket, I look at it, but when I like it and then I go buy it, right?
Yeah.
But I do my analysis properly.
Yeah.
I might spend a lot, but I don't just spend.
Makes sense. What is the last thing that you purchased? Because let's say we give you a challenge and we say the last thing that you purchased, we give you $1 million of that. What would it be?
I purchase things every day, but it depends. What kind
the last thing, literally, before we arrived in your office, what was the last thing that you paid money for?
I think it's a coffee at Mug and Bean.
A coffee at Mug and Bean. So you get 1 million coffees for you. Fun. Okay, so moms are special.
Yes.
We love our moms. But moms often are the ones who have some bad money habits. If you can disclose your mom's one bad money habit that you would love to just change about her.
I'm blessed in that regard.
Wow.
Because my mom, so I made my mom quit her job.
Okay.
A few years ago. And I said, okay, cool. I will give you an allowance of what you were getting at the job.
That's quite commendable.
2 times, 3 times, whatever you're getting, I'll just sit home and just relax, right? And I'm blessed in the sense that my mom does not necessarily ask. So sometimes because I'm so busy, and I forget to send her allowance on time, and whatever the case might be. Oh, so sorry.
That's fine.
Sorry about that. Because I'm so busy, I'm in the mix of things. I'm running a business. Maybe I'll be a day, 3 days late with her allowance, and I forgot because I've got so many things going on. She won't necessarily remind me, but when she reminds you, you will feel it.
Like, listen. You are the one who said.
But she doesn't do it a lot. But when she does it, she will make you feel.
That's good. Okay, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. But before we let you go, please, can you give us last thoughts for young South Africans right now are going through quite a lot. I feel like at the same time that we are very impatient, we're highly consumeristic, we are living in a time that is really abundant with potential and opportunities. As I have mentioned in the beginning, fastest growing sneaker brand on the entire continent in actual fact, right? What advice, again, that word, what tips do you have for a young person who's saying, I want it, but I want it now, but I need to put in the resources. So what do I do?
I think, number one, I always tell people this, that, you need to ensure that your intentions are right. You need to have clear intentions in everything else that you're doing, because at the end of the day, it's about your heart. You need to know how to do it. That when you have clear intentions, when your idea, your plans don't go the right way, you will still have the heart and the passion for it. And I think number two is that, especially now with 2020, what happened in the year, the pandemic, there's a saying that says crisis breeds innovation. It's about time that we sit back and really press the reset button, restructure, and think about us as Africans, what is it that we are doing? Because oftentimes, and for the longest of time, we've been at the receiving end of the latest technology, the latest app, and so forth in businesses. So we as Africans, we need to sit down and really start working on best businesses that the rest of the world can, receive. But going back to your question, I think patience is everything. We live in an era where, microwave success is a thing, Instagram is a thing. And I always, like I said earlier on, you need to find a way of being of service. Because, the world that we live in now, it's social currency, it's fame, it's the number of followers and so forth. But to tell you the truth is that in a few years from now on, people will forget about who was the most popular influencer, who had the most number of followers, who was more socially relevant, but significance and serving. When you serve someone, people will never forget how you made them feel. And I often make this example that even if we close down in 5 years, Batu closes down and we close the stores and everything else, Oksalayu, we've been of service to our community and our people, and people will never forget what we've done for them in that 5 years, and it's being of service. Do you know what I mean? So try to be of service and forget, because from now on you won't remember who was on the Real Housewife of Atlanta, of Johannesburg, who was on this reality show and so forth. Fame fades, relevance fades, but service stays with people's hearts.
Sure, that is quite powerful. They say it's not about what you have said to a person, but rather how you've made them feel. That is quite very, very important. But of course, in Theo's famous words, no rich uncle, no funding, self-made. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the founder of Batu, the fastest growing sneaker brand on the African continent. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.